Before we get into the content for today, I would like to start with a land acknowledgement. The University of Calgary, located in the heart of southern Alberta, both acknowledges and pays tribute to the traditional territories of the peoples of Treaty 7, which includes the Black Confederacy comprised of the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nation, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda, including Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 5 and 6. Now, for today, we will be discussing government student aid, important dates and deadlines for applications. We're going to go over the financial aid process. We will talk a bit about the life cycle of the financial aid process and also what to expect for the disbursement of funds. Then we will discuss some important information with UCalgary Awards, including some dates to be aware of, how and when to apply, and what to expect if you have already been issued an award letter, and what to expect for the disbursement of those funds. And finally, we will point out some resources that can help you out if there are difficulties with any of these processes. So what is financial aid? Financial aid is loans and grants from the provincial and federal government to support students pursuing post-secondary education. Any Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or protected person that is also a refugee enrolled in an accredited institution, which UCalgary is, and you have a financial need, can receive some coverage through the student aid program. Students who are residents of Alberta would apply for financial aid through Alberta Student Aid. You would count as a resident if you have lived in Alberta for the last 12 months prior to starting post-secondary. You will apply for funding through studentaid.alberta.ca, and you'd also need to have a verified alberta.ca account in order to apply for Alberta financial aid. If you have moved to Alberta from another province, you will likely need to apply through your home province's student aid program. You can contact your lender directly for more information or Google search, for example, BC Student Aid or Ontario Student Aid, and it will take you to the lender's webpage with information on how to apply for funding. The processes differ a little province by province, and just to note, we're going to use Student Aid Alberta as our template for this session, but just be aware there could be some slight differences based on the province you're applying with. When applying for financial aid, your application can take around 4 to 6 weeks for processing by the lender. Alberta Student Aid recommends that students apply 2 months in advance. The application for funding is available for the fall 2024 and winter 2025 terms, so you can go ahead and apply. Financial aid application can only be approved 30 days prior to the start of the study session, and students can enter an application at any point during the semester. But Alberta Student Aid requires any submitted application to be in place 30 days before the end of study session. This means that, for example, fall 2024, we can begin confirming fall 2024 application on August the 1st, and students will have until December the 1st to submit the application to Alberta Student Aid. Now, there are some important information that is included in the application that students will need to enter. The first one we're going to look at is basic personal information. This includes name, date of birth, citizenship or residency status, marital status, emergency contact information, and up-to-date contact information. You will also be asked to input information about the institution you're attending and the program. Here you'll put the university's name, University of Calgary, the name of the program length, degree outcome, dates of attendance, and associated costs. The program dates and costing were submitted to Alberta Student Aid by the University of Calgary and is updated in the application. Now, this is the maximum possible amount that you can request up to. So in the application, you will see tuition full course load amount, and that is the amount you will need to enter in the request amount box. Now, when you're applying for student aid, they also assess the kinds of resources that you have versus your costs. The resources that are considered includes things like RESP, employment insurance, Alberta work funding, band funding, and scholarships. And please note that if these are not applicable to you, you'll simply put 0 and move on. It is important to also know that for this section, they're not looking for employment income, nor things like RRSP or TFSAs. So Alberta Student Aid will assess the resources that you have available and the cost of education. And as long as you show some financial need, then there would be funding available through Alberta Student Aid program. You will apply for financial aid every academic year. Students are not able to apply for financial aid for the entire program on one application. So you will submit an application for 2 terms of funding, that is fall and winter on this application. If you decide to take classes in the spring and or summer semester, that application typically opens in February and you'll submit an application at that time. Then you'll submit another application next year, June or early July, when the application for the new academic year opens. And just to reiterate, the deadline to submit an application for financial aid to be considered is 30 days before the period of study end date. So if you are submitting an application for fall, that application needs to be submitted no later than December 1. And do know that we're using the deadlines for Alberta Student Aid. Other provinces may have different deadlines, so you always want to double check with your lender. So just to explain what we just went through on the previous slide about educational costs, as we do get questions from students about this section. Once a student enters the name of the program and the dates, the system will populate the amounts that need to be requested. As you can see in the sample, the application shows full course load amount. So for full course load amount, the amount that you need to enter in the request amount space for tuition, mandatory fee, books and supplies, and for computer related costs, the maximum that can be requested is $500. In this example, the full course load for tuition is $7,100. So you would enter this amount in the requested amount space. Mandatory fee course load amount, full course load amount in the sample is $1,484. So you need to enter that amount in the space provided. Important to note, different programs will have different full course load amount in the application. So you will need to enter the amount that you see here once you get to that section. There are some resources on the Alberta Student Aid website to assist you with your application. So again, the website is studentaid.alberta.ca. And I would recommend that you watch this short video that I'm going to explain after the end of this session. So you can go to studentaid.alberta.ca. And the first resource I would bring your attention to is a very short and informative video. So you will click on apply, then how to apply. Then the video is step 6, complete your application. Again, this video guides students on how to complete the application. It's only 5 minutes long. The next resource is the application worksheet. This lists out all the information required in the application. It can be a good idea to complete the worksheet before opening the actual application, as it will prompt you to get all the required personal and financial information together. There's also the funding guide that is available on the website. It is a high-level review of the entire process. It defines the terms lenders tend to use, answers common questions related to the application, and shows the tables used for assessing you for grants and costs of living. It may not be the most interesting read in the world, but it is highly recommended to give it some review prior to applying. And finally, in resources, this may not be relevant for folks for some time. This is the Repayment Essential Guide. It is a fantastic resource for going over what to expect once you have completed your study. While it can be intimidating, it's always a good idea to know this information going in, so there are no surprises once you have graduated. So that is it for resources. So when you are applying for financial aid, you're assessed for both loans and grants. Grants are funds that do not need to be repaid at the end of your studies. These are funds that the federal and provincial government issues to students to support the costs of their education. It is always a good idea to apply for government student aid, even if you're in a position where you have a plan in place to pay for your education, as you may get assessed for these grants. And these funds do not need to be repaid at the end of your degree unless there are some changes in your registration status. An example would be if a student applies and receives funding for full-time, but drops down to part-time in the middle of the semester. In these sorts of circumstances, Alberta Student Aid may convert a portion of your grants into loans. In that way, they would need to be paid back when you go into the repayment after completing your degree. And Alberta Student Aid typically communicates this to the student once they are amended. But as long as you maintain the correct level of study and maintain the terms of your study agreement, that wouldn't become a problem for you to address. Loans are funds that needs to be repaid, and loan eligibility is determined based on your financial need. And financial need is calculated as the cost of being in school minus the resources that you have. You don't need to apply for these separately, that is loans versus grants, as one application will be considered for both loans and grants. If you only want to apply for grants, you can enter $1 when asked about the maximum amount of funding you will need. And if you qualify for grants, they will award you grants. So this information is closer to the end of the application. They will ask you what is the full amount of funding that you need. Again, you will only need to put $1 when asked that question. So again, even if we're in a position where we know exactly where the funds is coming from, it is always a good idea to consider applying for financial aid to access those grant funding. The application that you submit must match your level of enrollment at the U Calgary. There is financial aid available when you are studying full-time through the fall and winter semester. And if you're also picking up additional courses throughout spring and or summer, your academic load, your full-time or part-time status determines the process for applying for financial aid. As a full-time student, you apply online through Alberta Student Aid portal. And to be considered a full-time student, you must be enrolled in at least 3 courses for fall and winter, or 2 courses enrolled in spring and or summer. It is worth noting that this is specific for undergrad students. If there are grad students here today, please refer to our Financial Aid Frequently Asked Questions page. You can Google Financial Aid U Calgary for more information and guidance. When you are part-time, so this is less than 3 courses for the fall and winter term, or less than 2 in the spring and or summer term, you are assessed for funding slightly differently. There are no cost of living allowance included in the assessment for part-time funding. Only educational expenses are covered. That is tuition, general fees, books and supplies. If you are part-time, then you complete all the student section of the part-time paper application form found on the Alberta Student Aid website and submit to our team through the Service Request tab of your Student Center for us to complete Section 5 and return to you with further instructions. Once you've submitted the application, you can make changes to your application through your Alberta Student Aid portal. Once you have been approved for student aid, you will receive your student award letter, and the university will receive your data to confirm your registration, typically 30 days before the start of the study period. So for fall term, we will receive the information to confirm your registration in August. Now, you will not be able to make changes to your application at this stage. A request for review can be submitted at this point to change the application that was submitted. This can be required under some circumstances, such as applying for financial aid under the incorrect program or using the incorrect study period dates. A request for review can take up to 30 days to be processed. It can be better to cancel the application and resubmit with the correct information, and this is normally a lot faster. You can contact Enrollment Services for support here if necessary. The application process and the assessment of student aid and the disbursement of funds are all supported by the lender, so they will process all that information. Our financial aid team administers the confirmation process for all government loans and grants. Our role here is to confirm that you are a student and that the details included in the application matches your student file. This process begins in August. That is approximately 1 month before the start of the term, and we send out confirmation to the government throughout the term, and this is an automated process that runs nightly. On your student center under My Financials, students can monitor the status of their financial aid confirmation and the status of your financial aid by navigating to the government student aid section of the website. Once you receive your student award letter, the government student aid section of the My Financial page, as shown on the slides, will update with your financial aid agreement and will show the status of the confirmation. This is normally done within the next business day from when you receive the award letter. Students are not contacted if there are any errors with your confirmation, so you should check regularly and review this section of your student center once you receive your award letter from your lender. This is our primary way of communicating the status of your financial aid confirmation, and if there are any errors, you will see that right here. Please do see sample error message on the screen. Students will need to correct this error for a system to confirm them to Alberta Student Aid. Now, there are some common mistakes that students make when applying for financial aid. that will result in an error in the confirmation process. If the details of your status at U Calgary do not match with what is stated in your application, there will be delays. If you are not sure, it is always best to reach out to us for support. Now, today we will only focus on the errors that are highlighted here. And please be reminded that funds are not released if these are not corrected. Firstly, if you are part-time and you apply for full-time funding, we cannot confirm your registration. Or if you apply for 2 terms of funding as full-time, example fall and winter, but you're not full-time for both terms, that is, you're full-time for winter or fall and you're part-time for the next term, we will not be able to confirm your full-time registration. You will need to be full-time for both terms in order for us to confirm that you are enrolled full-time with the university. If you apply with the wrong set of dates or the wrong program name, that will also lead to confirmation errors, and you will need to cancel and resubmit your application. As mentioned before, a request for review to correct an error will take up to 30 days or more, and canceling and resubmitting is always the fastest option. Other common reasons for your funds to not have been dispersed are if you have not yet registered in classes quite yet, or if there are no classes enrolled in on file, then we will have nothing to compare the information to. Or if you haven't completed your master's student financial aid agreement, now this is the document that you will need to complete that will allow the lender to directly deposit funds to your account. This is required as a first-time borrower, and you will receive instructions from your lender, Alberta Student Aid, to complete this agreement 2 to 3 business days after being approved for financial aid. When applying for funding, there are specific university dates that should be used in the application. If you're applying for fall term, only the dates that you should use in your application are September 1 to December 31st. If you're submitting an application for the winter term only, you will need to use January 1 to April 30th. Or if you're applying for funding for the fall and winter terms, you will need to use the dates September 1 to April 30th. And you can check out our website for frequently asked questions by Google searching Financial Aid U Calgary, and you will also see exceptions to these dates, such as exchange program and our medicine dates. Now, once a student's enrollment has been confirmed by our office, students can expect to receive their funding within 7 to 10 business days. The University of Calgary does not request the government to send funds to us directly. That is common for some institutions, but not U Calgary. Funds are normally deposited directly into the student's account, and it is then the student's responsibility to pay your fees. Now, there are going to be 2 disbursement periods with the application. That is, if you have submitted an application for both fall and winter term. The first will be at the start of the study period, and the second would be at the midpoint of the study period. So again, if you submit an application for both fall and winter, you can expect your disbursement to be, the first disbursement to be early September, and the second disbursement in December or early January. Pardon me, let me get some water. And if all goes smoothly, that is, you have done all your agreements, you have submitted an application, you have been approved, all of what needs to be done, you will have your funds in hand way before payment deadlines. So just a bit of overview of what we've covered so far. First thing in the process is to determine your eligibility for financial aid. So, will you be receiving financial aid through Alberta? Will you be receiving Alberta financial aid through BC or another province? Determining which province you meet the residency requirements for, that's the province that you've lived in for 12 months prior to attending post-secondary institution. Then you will create an account and apply for financial aid online with Alberta Student Aid or your province of residency. Once the assessment is complete, you will be issued an award letter outlining the funds you will be receiving and when to expect the disbursement of funds. Then the data comes to the school and we will either confirm everything is correct or an error will appear on your student center. Once the award letter is issued, please keep an eye on your My Financial section of your student center for the status of your financial aid. Then funds are dispersed directly to students. And finally, you'll pay your tuition fees, residency or rent, or any other expenses that you may have overdue. Now, at the end of your studies, Alberta Student Aid provides a 12-month grace period, and your lender NSLSC provides a 6-month grace period after your last reported end date. Now, while you are in full-time studies, your loans are not generating any interest only starts to generate on your loans once your grace period has ended. Not all provinces are the same here, so always double check the terms of your loans with your lender. Now, loans are not free money. Students should know ahead of time that these funds you will need to pay back when you complete your studies. Students who are getting financial aid for each year of study shouldn't worry too much about going into repayment during studies. However, if you're taking a semester off or doing an internship or co-op and won't be applying for financial aid, you may need to submit an interest-free request to keep your loans out of repayment while you are still in study. Just a side note here, if you ever decide to continue your studies and not take a new financial aid, you must let your lender know so you do not go into repayment. Remember, lenders do not know what you're doing unless you inform them. So we're going to switch gears away from government financial aid and discuss some undergrad award opportunities that you will have while you're studying at the University of Calgary. There may be folks here who receive notice about an entrance award, and congratulations if you have been selected. Your entrance award, including the President's Admission Scholarship, will be applied to your account evenly with 50% of the value applied to your fall term and the other 50% applied to your winter term. You can expect to see those payments on your UCalgary student account in August and also in mid-December for those awards. These awards will directly be applied to your fees in your student center, and any excess balance will automatically be refunded on set dates, that is October 25th for fall and February 25th for the winter semester. Please ensure your direct deposit information is submitted in the My Financial section of your student center as soon as possible to avoid any delays in getting your funds. Most awards have eligibility requirements that you have to maintain. For entrance award, this is usually maintaining a full-time level of study in your first year, and some awards are also tied to completing a specific program as well. When you are selected for an award, you are issued an award letter that outlines the terms of the awards and what to expect for the disbursement. If you are ever unsure of what to expect, always refer to your award letter that was issued to you. Now, after entrance awards, continuing awards are the largest category of funds administered through the University of Calgary. Now, these are intended for students going into their second, third, fourth, or fifth years and are assessed based on the previous year of study. That would be your previous fall and winter terms. Now, the basic eligibility requirements are completing 8 courses or 24 units or 4 classes in fall and 4 classes in winter and maintaining a GPA of 2.0. Sorry, at least 3.2. Don't be dissuaded by the explicit eligibility criteria, whether that be internal awards or external awards. Every year, there are funds left unallocated as applicable students may not have applied. Some awards are issued simply based on the applicant's specific experience, like being involved in a certain club, or graduating from a certain high school, or being enrolled in a certain program. An application may take an hour or so, but the worst outcome is being told that you weren't selected, and the best outcome is additional funding in your pocket. So we always encourage students to apply for any applicable awards that might be relevant for your program. Do see our website for more information on when these awards become available. The past year, the continuing awards ran from March to May. So just keep in mind, as you're wrapping up your second semester, you'll be able to apply for awards based on your first year of study. Now, the awards that we've been discussing so far are more focused on your academics and community engagement or leadership. But there are also bursaries available through the previous applications as well. Bursaries are assessed and granted on a needs basis. So that is cost minus resources equal financial need. As school is expensive, most students will show a certain amount of financial need. So do not hesitate to apply when these open up in October. Even with a financial plan in place, sometimes things out of your control can change your financial picture significantly. UCalgary is able to support you if you have unexpected expenses. This could be additional bursaries, short-term loans, or even grocery cards to ensure you can keep food on the table. If during your study with UCalgary you find things are getting tighter than expected, please contact Enrollment Services for support. We can always take a look and see what additional supports we have available to help you out. Now, we have chatted mostly about awards, scholarships, and bursaries offered through the University of Calgary, but there are also awards that you can apply for outside of the institution. External awards can be quite broad. These awards can be offered through unions, employers, volunteers, or community association, and more. We have included a few links here to some online scholarship banks, but please take a look at our awards webpage for a full list of external stakeholders that you may be able to receive additional funding through. A 500-word essay that you spend an hour or two putting together may award you your grocery money for the month. So it's always best to apply to absolutely anything that looks relevant for you and your program. All right, almost done here for today. In addition to assessing and issuing loans and grants to the student aid program, Your provincial lender also have awards and scholarships that they issue. Again, we will talk about some common Alberta Student Aid Awards, but please do check your provincial lender for additional opportunities if you're joining us from out of province. The Alexander Rutherford Scholarship is offered to students joining post-secondary right out of high school. It is exclusive for Alberta residents and is applied for through the Alberta Student Aid portal, similarly to how you apply for Alberta Student Aid. It is assessed based on your last year of high school and requires full-time enrollment at U Calgary in order to qualify. Now, there are a few other awards that are connected to this application. So if you're joining U Calgary after completing your last year of high school in Alberta, make sure you apply for this award. Recipients of this award would receive a check mailed out by Alberta Student Aid later on in the fall term. After your first year of study, there are a few awards offered to Alberta Student Aid as continuing awards. These are based on your first year of study at the university. So both the Louise McKinney and the Jason Lang requires a minimum of 3.2 and at least 24 units completed in the previous year of study and are assessed based on your academic standing. Meeting the minimum criteria may not be sufficient to be awarded one of these awards. The application for these opens up on July 1st. So if there are folks here who have completed a year of study, please go ahead and apply now. You can receive these awards like 3 times over the course of your degree. So apply for them going into your second, third, and fourth year. So let me just reiterate. The minimum requirement is 3.2 GPA and at least 24 units completed in the previous year of study. It is important to note that if you're doing a co-op or internship or doing an exchange program abroad throughout the fall and or winter term, you might not meet the minimum requirements for these awards if you're taking internship. But if you're taking internship and some other classes, you could still qualify for these awards. It is always important to say you are not alone no matter what kind of problems you're experiencing. There are folks and programs on campus that can help you. Whether it is an issue with your financial aid and awards or needing help getting your studies on track, there is someone here who can guide you through this process. You can book an appointment with us or visit us in person or even contact us by phone. And I have the QR code on screen if you want to take a picture of that. I'll just give you a few seconds here to take a picture of the QR code. Now, finally, we want to invite you to also scan our QR code to begin our survey. You do not have to complete the survey now, but you do need to begin the survey before exiting the session. It is important to let us know what landed and what didn't, so we can improve on these sessions going forward. Here again, I'll give you a few minutes to scan the QR code. And we will proceed to the question and answer section in a moment here, but thank you all very much for attending today. Hopefully we connected you with some very useful information.